So I want to be that voice to say it's okay to admit it, it's okay to say it, because who you are becoming is going to make the difference.
Благослови моих братьев, благослови наши руки. Мы в поисках больших денег, мы в деле круглые сутки. Благослови
Pimped Out Radio Show, man, they everywhere.
Благослови моих братьев, благослови моих братьев, благослови наши руки. Мы в поисках больших денег, мы в деле круглые сутки. Благослови моих братьев, благослови моих братьев. Я скрутил себе потолще, я выдыхаю с
Best jam I have ever eaten.
Oh, wow.
I have that as a testimonial.
И не играй со мной свою роль. Со мной молодые братья. Мы возьмем котлеты наличных себе на завтра. Сегодня-завтра, неважно как я. You, эй, yeah. Благослови моих братьев, благослови наши руки, мы в поисках больших.
Alright, y'all, tune in for another episode of Make That Radio Show. I am your host, Andreas, and I have to my right, y'all's left, Miss Temeka Thomas. Had a brief conversation back in like 2020 or whatever, and now we're here. So I'm gonna give y'all some a little background. Miss Thomas, she's a Dublin native, a self-help author. Self-help author of Proclaim Your Freedom, and also wrote a second novel, The Iridescent Truth. Which I definitely, if I would have, well, not even that, but just the iridescent truth and what that means, I definitely am going to like read that.
Okay.
I wish I would have ordered it. I've been so busy, but I definitely going to support though. She's also formed a deep passion through empowering women through her new developing program, New Employed Women. Which you said is the plan of action, supervise and submits prayer communities and spiritual advice. I mean, that's, it's a little different from today's times, and I feel like it's grounded in something, a belief system, and it being like concrete to those who need a belief system and those who have that. But it branches out and will touch other avenues. Okay. So let's get into that, and then anything else that you might have left off. Because sometimes when we write about ourselves, we'll be just let you know, I have a narcissistic personality, so I like to talk about myself, and I feel comfortable in doing so. But let's talk about you and your journey. Was that your first entrepreneur endeavor, writing books, or?
As a matter of fact, it was. It was my very first one. As I was actually working for the carpet industry in customer service. I was married, but going through a divorce. And my daughter, I want to say it was probably around 11, and so I had another baby in my marriage, and so now here I am going through a divorce. Now I'm a single mom. I have 2 kids, and not only that, my job, they actually shut down.
Oh wow!
And it was during a recession.
Ooh,
it was during 2009.
Okay, I was about to say 2008, 2009. Yeah, so your life just flipped upside down, like really completely.
For sure. So it's crazy what happened. But I just started having like these massive dreams, and I found the dreams to be significant. And I remember getting this journal, and green is my favorite color, so I picked out this green journal.
Color of money.
Yes, come on, man, come on. And so I just started recording all of these dreams and everything that was revelatory to me. And it was just weird how those dreams, they literally started to come into pass. So I had no idea that that journal would turn into a book, because I've never had a desire for writing. I've never had a desire for even speaking, to be honest. And this is why I say that I influence people through kingdom work, and I'm a very spiritual person, because considering everything that I've gone through, I literally turned to God. And so I wouldn't try to push anything on anybody else. I'm only telling people what worked for me. And so my identity before that, I was really shy. I was really reserved. So none of the things that I'm doing now would have done them during that time. And so it was just like everything was broken down. I was just broken gracefully, but it just revealed my true identity. So like I say, that book, that journal turned into a book. And I remember saying, because I'm still shy, I was like, if I could just write and encourage people, I'll do it that way. And the way that I realized that I was one that would encourage people would come to me that I've had conversation with 5 years ago, 10 years ago, and they would say, well, you're the reason I did so-and-so, so-and-so, and you're so inspirational. And these were tons of people that didn't know each other. And I knew that's what my calling was. And so, but I knew I had to go farther than just writing. And so I had to break the fear of speaking. And it was crazy, because when I would get on the platform to speak, I literally felt like I was about to pass out.
It's a new sensation for you,
It was ridiculous. So, but the crazy thing is, and so this is what I teach everybody, fear is going to show up every single time. But you have to push past that fear, because that's where you're going to find your true identity. That's where you're going to find your passion. But as long as you allow fear to be a bully, you're going to remain mediocre, and you're going to remain in your comfort zone, and you'll just be full of a mass of desires and dreams and goals. Because once I got on that platform, within maybe 5 seconds, fear just left me. And literally, somebody probably had to come and get the microphone.
But that's good though. So, this sounds like you're very entertaining. You give a lot of good information, and you connect.
I do.
And I'm like, those are the things that you need in an author. Like I've interviewed a lot of authors, right, over the years, and all of them at different levels. And I love hearing their starting out story, because it's about getting over that fear, or like, well, people really like to listen or read what I have to say and all that. I was like, yes, your voice is there for a reason, and you're meant to touch whomever it touches. So as you went through that, and that was your your coming out moment, right? How was the people that you had in your corner? Were they like receptive? Were they very conservative and like, hey, I don't know if you should do that?
Well, to be honest, kind of like the conversation we were having about your vision belonging to you. There were people in my life that I knew loved me, but they didn't think the way that I thought, or my ambition wasn't the same. And so if I would share that with them, they was like, oh, that's good, and that's all I got. So I would spend a lot of time alone. I spent a couple of years in isolation, and I would just write, and I would build upon the desires that were in my heart. And once they seen it happen, and now gradually people were starting to be a believer. So that taught me a lot. Not to take it personal if people don't support you, or people don't understand you, because that is your desire. These dreams and goals are inside of you. And so you're not doing it to make a believer out of them. You're doing it because you want to know your identity, in hopes that it will inspire the lives of others and even your loved ones. So I learned a lot along the way. I'm not going to say starting out I wasn't disappointed. I would cry because I didn't understand. And I know that when you lack wisdom and knowledge, that it'll keep you in a stagnant place. So for a while I was stagnant because I wanted the support. But I realized that it wasn't about anybody else. It was about me, pulling out what I knew was inside of me. And then along the way, gravitating to people that can help me to become a better version of myself. So
that's what's up. So how did you measure success with your first publication?
So this is wild. For me, when we talk about success, I know a lot of people, the first thing come to mind is probably money. And that's the goal, because that's an objective, right? However, I remember when I wrote my first book, and I was still living in my hometown, and it's on all distributions, but there was this local bookstore in my hometown, and my book is there, so it was a personal contract that I got, and they called the local radio station that came there. They interviewed me before the book signing. They set up everything in the store for me. It was beautiful. I had so much support, and even the job that I worked years before, I told you I went through the recession or whatever, and they shut down. All of these people showed up. Like, it was a beautiful thing, and we can be our worst critic. When I say I'm such a loving person, so I don't meet a stranger. It doesn't matter the race, it doesn't matter the culture. I had all different people showing up to support me. So it was such a beautiful day. So that alone was a success for me, and it helped me to realize who I was. But not only that, the money, it was real good. Turned out real good. But that night, notifications were going off on my phone. I cried the whole night.
Did you feel overwhelmed?
I did, but it was
a good overwhelming though.
And that feeling, I never want to let that. I'm not gonna milk that experience. I want to get more, but I don't forget it because that was my beginning. Yeah, that's my foundation. So I'm always gonna talk about it.
Yeah, it's always gonna be. It's like, you know, it's that. Yeah. So it's that springboard for, you know.
Exactly.
Okay, so then you go into your second book. How was the reception of that one? How did you measure success on that one? And what also, this is like a combo question, right? Measure success on that one. What has come of those, any opportunities have come from those endeavors as well?
That's a good question, because writing my second book was completely different than the first. I didn't necessarily get the same support, and I'll tell you why. I had become a different person. I even had people saying, oh, she's using all these big words, and
I'm sorry.
And they were not big. They were not big to me.
I get it though, because, okay, so brief educational background. What is your educational background?
And the crazy thing is, I graduated high school. I went off to college. I dropped out of college because I ended up getting pregnant with my daughter. And that's another thing I tell people, like, I don't allow fear to control you. Fear was a driving force for me.
How far did you get into college?
I wasn't even in the...
You was a freshman, or?
Yeah, that was it.
You just
like, cause I was
wild, huh?
And the crazy thing,
now I get it though.
Well, it was still my high school sweetheart.
Okay.
So I was still dating him. He would come down and see me every Tuesday and Thursday. Cause I went to a local college, but maybe 45 minutes away from home. But it still felt like away from home.
When you was in high school, how did you rank as far as, like, you know, in your class?
I was an average student. Maybe 80. I wasn't on a roll like my kids are, but I was well known because I would say more so my personality.
I feel like a later bloomer for me.
Yeah, like
you know, okay, you know how, like, some people peak in high school and then fall off.
Exactly.
I feel like, you know what I'm saying, your story is you wasn't supposed to peak in high school. You're supposed to wait a little bit later.
It's weird because, okay, the way people will explain me, how they see me in high school is not how I see myself. I was on homecoming court my 9th grade year, 12th grade year, and I was a homecoming queen. So people see me as popular, but I didn't understand why, because I was so quiet. I talk about it in my first book, I think my second book, when they would announce over the intercom that I was homecoming queen. I was inside of my head like, who's looking at me? Why should she be on homecoming court? I didn't look at myself as beautiful or pretty or that I was deserving. So no one knew that I carried these thoughts. So that's why I'm saying they may have looked at me as being popular, but I didn't.
Okay, so now we're about to teeter off a little bit right here.
Okay.
Because I'm enjoying this conversation. So you looking at yourself like that, right? Is that due to past traumas? And did you grow up where, or have a similar experiences growing up as, like, because you know, a little bit darker and everything, and they're taught, that girls of your complexion are not pretty and stuff like
actually,
that? Or
that was it was the total opposite.
Okay.
Even though like I'm a brown skinned girl, but my brothers are darker than me.
Okay.
So they actually said they thought it was too light. It's crazy.
Okay, gotcha,
Chocolate girl, but they thought the opposite. But I think my parents divorced when I was 11.
Okay.
And I grew up with two brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And oldest brother, very possessive. He was very protective of me.
Mm-hmm.
And my mom was very protective, again, because I was the only girl.
Mm-hmm.
So even though they were doing everything out of love,
Mm-hmm.
it put up fear.
Mm-hmm.
So as a young girl, I didn't have an avenue to talk to someone about things that were happening. And also, blossoming into a young lady,
Mm-hmm.
I definitely couldn't talk to my brother,
Mm-hmm.
could not talk to my mom, and so I had to go outside the home.
What was the relationship with you and your mom then? Because it seems like, was there a little conflict there?
Well, we actually had a very close relationship, but my mom raising 3 kids on her own after going through a divorce.
So she still was dealing with that
She
and
still was-
processing that,
Exactly.
and even any traumas that she had in her past, probably that wasn't,
inflicted on
and she didn't deal with.
And that was her way of protecting me.
Yeah.
And I had to learn, like, I had to learn the love language of my family.
Okay.
I knew that's the way they knew to love.
Mm-hmm.
But they didn't realize that there was something else that I was needing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I just felt boxed in, and they were loving me to the best of their ability.
Mm-hmm.
But my mom was protecting me. She knew I was the only girl, which
Mhm.
means that I could bring babies into the home. So she was really, really strict on me being, so that's the way she looked at it.
Yeah.
But my brothers could do the same
like I said, I
thing.
got 6 of them. Exactly. I got
Right.
Like I tell I treat my kids. I try to treat them. At least I think I try to treat them equally, regardless of sex.
Right.
And just like my son and my daughter, the two, they're not twins. My daughter skipped the 2nd grade, so she's been in. Her and her older brother is only they're only like 16 months apart or something like that.
Oh wow.
And so they've been in the same grade since 3rd grade.
Really?
And I treat them all the same. They went to prom and all that. I told my son, don't be out there making them babies. I told her, don't get
See,
pregnant.
That's what my
You know
mom
what I'm
would say.
saying?
It wasn't nothing cruel, but that's what she was like.
Well, at
Don't
least
bring
I'm,
no
I'm
babies.
addressing both of them though. You know what I'm saying? I was
Yeah.
like, because I ain't taking care of no. First of all, I'm 42. So I still feel like I'm still young enough, but I'm not old enough to be a grandparent or whatever. And I'm not gonna take care of no little ones. 'Cause my youngest right now is 6, and I'm
wow.
waiting until she, you know what I'm saying, keeps going, and then I got an 8, and like I got
Wow.
I got steps. But it's easier, you know what I'm saying? Because I see now some of my peers who had kids later on in life, whatever, and they're dealing in their late 30s or 40s with like little, not preemies. I'm sitting there thinking of me, I was preemie, but little infants.
Right.
And I was, I don't want to do none of that no more. I'm done with that.
Right.
I'm glad that old stage is over.
Exactly.
Like, once you're walking and talking, you can talk and say sentences and paragraphs and stuff like that. You all right with me? So yeah, so I try to keep them all, the same balance or whatever.
Yeah.
But I get it. So you were saying like, skirting back over to the book, the 2nd release.
Mm-hmm.
He said it wasn't like set up as successfully
Right.
as far as logistically, I guess, as far as the first one, because it's showing a new side of you, a new transition.
They thought they knew it was different. And that's kind of what my journey started out in my first book, being called Proclaim Your Freedom, and the subtitle was Finding Your True Identity. So this was levels of me finding a new, because some people feel like they've arrived, but you're always going to find a new version of yourself as you grow, and as life experiences happen and encounters happen. And I realized just being introduced to a new part of me, it used to be really, really hard. But now it's easy because I understand the process. But even the book, the 2nd book, and the reason I say the success level was different was because if there was I was more simplicity. And so now that I've learned who I am, I presented myself differently. And I couldn't water myself down for people to understand me, because whoever was my audience seasons ago in 2014 may not have been my audience in 2019, and that was understood. So I didn't go back and try to be a defense mechanism. Well, you got to understand, no, I continue to stay the course, and I focused on my assignment, and whoever was entertained by it or whoever lives were impacted, that's what I did. I didn't worry about going back trying to explain myself.
Yeah, which you shouldn't have to. You know, I tell people, like, I'm comfortable with who I am.
Right.
Like, I walk around with it all day long.
Exactly.
I'm good over here.
For sure.
So it sounds like you have more books that you've either released or about to release.
I got some more, you know. I actually wrote, even did short stories, and, and uploaded it on Amazon, just trying something out. And it's crazy because I actually pulled it up. I hadn't looked at it in a while, and I pulled it up today, and I was reading it, and I was like, oh, this is good. So I'm swiping through them like you're reading your own stories. But yeah, I am doing fiction and nonfiction now. I've actually in the past, I've written, wrote a play. That was so much fun, and we actually had to play at my old high school in the theater, so that was so much fun. But even having this discussion with you, saying it out loud helps me to know like what a fraction of what I'm purposed to do. Who I thought I was quiet and reserved. That wasn't my true identity. So that's why I say my relationship with God, because mind you, I'm not talking to anybody in my home. You know, we're talking about the basics, but I'm not giving them the depth of who I am, because I feel like they're not going to understand, or they're being protective, so they're going to shut it down. And so I had to learn how to grow into a young lady the best of my ability. And I feel like God, He had this bubble around me for me to do that in order to be who I am and make the impact. Because some people, we come out of a home, our parents are not perfect, and they raise you to the best of their ability. And so there's a lot of learned behavior in the home, and some people live their life based off of that learned behavior. And if you've ever heard anybody talk about strongholds or curses, that's where it comes from, because this learned behavior is passed on. And you got to know the truth for yourself and still love them, because they're not perfect, but they love you. And so, and I think if you understand that a lot of mental health conditions, they can deal with that, to know that some of the things that happen to you is not because you're not enough or that you're not pretty. It's just that people that raise you, they had life encounters and life experiences as well. It's not to make excuses for them, but they just so happen to be your parents, or they happen to be the people that your caretakers, and it doesn't have to be your story. It could be the end, and you can have a new beginning to make sure that you don't pass that same behavior on to your children. So that's how I look at with my new book and the success, because it's still selling, and it's still an inspiration to me. If I can pick up my own material and encourage myself, that's what makes me proud.
Yeah, it's like, you know, when I've written songs and stuff like that, and I go back and listen to them and stuff like that, I'm like, you know what?
I did that. Let me tell you, this was before I ever wrote a book. Considered, I could write songs too. And I mean, you know how people say it take them a while. Like, I can write a song, like it will be before a week is out. And that's how you know, like, when you're gifted. Some people have to pick up a craft, you know, or learn a skill, but it just came as second nature to me.
So what you do with all that?
I did nothing with it. I'm embarrassed to say, but I did nothing with it.
You might have to tap back into it.
Yes, sir.
So, on that note, here's some new music for y'all to tune into. So I feel like you're having fun here.
I am.
Okay, this what's up. This what's up. I'm loving it. I'm loving the fact that you're loving it. So, like, do you set goals and everything now, or like, what do you do?
I do. I absolutely set goals, and but here's the thing: when I set goals, I do know that certain things will happen. So setting goals don't always come along with details. And so sometimes the way that I plan to achieve those goals, they may change along the way. And I realize that setting goals, like, and I'm going to tell you where it come from, because when I dropped out of college, I set goals, but I didn't plan to have a baby. My plan was to go to school, get an education. I wanted to get married, have 3 kids. I was going to live in a 2-story brick home, own my own clothing store, and I wanted to do hair. That did not happen. So I had a child, and it threw me off. And so I'm encouraging other young girls that, you know, what if? Even if you plan something, there's a what if. What do you do with that what if? I stopped. and I start working dead-end jobs. Don't allow that what if to throw a rod in you fulfilling or achieving your dreams and goals. I still feel like I did good, but it still took me a while to get to where I am today.
No, like there's nothing wrong with the experiences you've gone through to be the person you are today.
Right.
Because without that, you wouldn't be the person you are today.
Exactly.
And you wouldn't be able to handle everything that comes along with the successes and stuff like that.
Exactly. So you have to rejoice in the good and the bad.
You got to take it all in. So I think I saw some of the flyers and stuff that are promoted that you also do speaking engagements.
Yeah.
How has that been for you? Because I know a lot of people like to want to jump into that realm, and then eventually become like keynote speakers and all that, and you know, getting paid and all that stuff. So how was that transition for you? And then also I want to back up to the opportunities that have come to you since being an author.
Gotcha. Again, like I said, I never desired to be a speaker. I never desired to be a writer. I never planned to be a writer or a speaker. And this is why I'm saying everything that I do now is I talk about God, because everything that I do was influenced when I start surrendering everything to God that I just couldn't make sense of, even relationships, just everything about me, right? And I was like, okay, God, if you're the creator of all things and you created me, there has to be more. So there was a time where I've been married, but I've opted out of dating. And I think the longest was like 4 years before I even considered going on a date. And that's where I just got to the point where I got to see something different. This is even after writing the books. And I'm seeing what God is doing. So that's why a lot of people, they feel like having a relationship with God means that your life is perfect. It doesn't mean that. You still perish from a lack of wisdom and knowledge. And obviously there was more that was lacking. Like, I'm in relationships, faithful woman, so I'm thinking I need to reciprocate the same thing. So what made me different than any other woman? So I had to learn that you don't, just because you're good and faithful, that doesn't make up the mass of the relationship. So there wasn't a balance when it came to dating. So I was like, okay, I'm going to opt out, and I'm going to commit to myself and God. So you're going to help me to know who I am. So what happened, I didn't have anybody to blame. I couldn't be a victim because I was not committed to anybody. I didn't even go on dates because I knew that going on dates would eventually lead to me being in a relationship. And I learned a lot about myself. The first year, I learned that I did not like being alone, which means that I was not whole. So there was substance that was missing. So here I am in relationships saying that I'm good, I'm a good woman, I'm faithful, thinking that was enough. But things were unbalanced. So the problem was, people can see that it was easy to manipulate me, and it was easy to control me, because my heart, it was huge, but it was longing for something. There was still a deep void, there was still emptiness. But that's the thing, when you hear people say move from one relationship to the next, my mindset was, he's not the man for me, I'm going to go on to the next. And that's the problem, that's the issue. How can you keep committing to someone when you really don't know who you are? Is that all you have to describe yourself, as a good woman, as a faithful? Really, you're describing how you are to somebody else, but who are you to you? When I had that downtime, I didn't even know what it was that I loved to do. So I started going out to eat by myself. I would never do that. I started going to the movies by myself. I was going to church by myself. I was going on vacations with my kids, without a male figure. And I was getting to know me. It was just me and my kids without someone else, influencing me. And the good thing, the beauty of it all is I was never bitter. I still believe that marriage was beautiful. I still believe that love was beautiful. I was just learning who I was. And the result was I was not whole. There was things that were missing, and I was still broken. So there was an issue, because being broken can make the other person feel like they're responsible for your happiness. It can make the other person feel like they're not doing something right. And if I'm giving something good, I'm like, why can't I reciprocate it? And basically, it was just my own insecurity, because when you're lacking love, or you're lacking, confidence, then there's a form of insecurity, and a lot of women would not admit that. So I want to be that voice to say it's okay to admit it, it's okay to say it, because who you are becoming is going to make the difference. You know, do the math. It's going to start adding up. So.
It will. So you've gone through that and you've healed and you've learned about yourself. And professionally, you know, I would say that you have a certain brand about yourself, right? Do you see how other people see you, or?
To be honest, I know it's crazy because even every day, in the mornings, I have a prayer line that I host 8 a.m. from Monday through Friday. There is not a day that I don't get a text message or I don't get a phone call. So after the prayer call, I'm on the phone probably at least 2 hours. While I'm on the phone, so I put my AirPod in, I'm texting. And people are telling me how I've impacted their lives. And so I'm literally in tears. I'm such a boo girl.
I like, there's nothing wrong with you being emotionally connected.
So I'm loving this place that I'm in, and I'm excited about where I'm going. So that's why I'm an example to tell other people that your happy now may not be your happy next season. So if things start happening, and if you don't realize that, that's where the trial and tribulation come in. Because in order for you to know who you are, sometimes you got to be broken down again. But if you get it, and without, you know, take that resilient opportunity to say that I'm going to get out of my way. I don't know everything there is to know, and I'm going to allow nature to take its course. Like, be diligent with yourself to know that this is not all there is to you. Even though everybody, you know, that's what they're connected to, but to know that there's more to you, that's all inspiring to other people, and that's what keep you ahead of time. That's just like being in a marriage. You can't be in a marriage and think that you can still be the same person every single day. There has to be something different that has to happen. They're introduced to a new version. That's to keep that love alive. Like, you know, when all your kids are gone, what are you and your wife gonna do? You know what I'm saying? So there's always a different version of yourself. So that part of me, I'm not afraid. I'm always excited. Always. Do I have bad days? Absolutely. Because I don't have superpowers to keep bad things from happening or indifferent things happening to me. So yeah, I have my downtime, but the thing that I'm most proud of is in the past, I could be in a sad place for a year or longer, but now it's a moment, and I pull myself out of it. The crazy thing is, I can be going through that moment. I could be boo-hoo crying, and if one of my people called me, it can even be my daughter, and I'd be like, "What's up, girl?" Like, nobody would know. Like, it's second nature, and I don't have to force it. Like, it's just who I am. Like, you know, I can be having a moment right here. If I start crying and you make a joke, and I'm gonna be laughing so hard because it's really funny. And I see some people struggle to do that. They'll bring attitude to work. They'll move.
Yeah, you're able to release.
I am.
And to let go. A lot of people have to work on that.
Yeah.
But that's where that, you know, like you said, your solitude.
Yeah, exactly.
That's where that comes, and it reinforces these skills that, you know, a lot of people don't necessarily put themselves through, or like you said, pay attention to.
Right.
So what's a day in the life of then? Because you said you got the prayer line at 8 o'clock in the morning, and then you have like no follow up for 2 hours after that.
Yeah, I didn't ask for that. But I enjoy it, so because you want to get the feedback, and you want to know. Well, them showing up is enough to know that you're doing something right. But the end result is really for me. Even though I'm joking saying I didn't, but it's for me to know that you are making a difference. If they are still calling you, or maybe they're sending messages telling me how it impacted their lives, or I invited somebody else to the life, but what I see is an extension of what I'm doing, and it's adding on, and I see a platform that's growing, and so I don't try to go outside of that pace to make it grow faster, because I may not be ready for that capacity, so I allow that platform to grow. No matter how much I want it, I don't go beyond that, because maybe that capacity, I'm not ready for that. So I allow it to move naturally, organically. So
do you see yourself like, eventually ended up on like, the New York Times bestseller list and stuff like that, or?
I do.
Okay.
I think that's where my excitement comes from, because even though I may be in a place today, I have the ability to see where I'm going, and that feeling it's almost like it fertilizes me to keep growing because I'm getting there. And you're gonna look up and you're gonna be like, wow, I arrived. And the opportunity is more closer than you think. And I think the reason why the opportunity is more closer because of my humility to think and be okay with where I am, but also recognize where I'm going. So I can see it, but I'm still okay with I'm embracing it. Almost like it's still, I'm on level ground, I'm embracing it. Even if I'm here, I embrace it. So yeah, I can see it. I definitely can.
That's what's up. So is there anything I left out?
No, I think you're such a good interviewer. Say that.
We're doing this for a while. So let everybody know, how can they book you if they want to book you for speaking engagements. They want to, purchase the book, and you follow social media, all that good stuff.
Okay, right now I'm actually having my website revamped, and because we're adding in some different tools and instruments for women because I am growing. My platform is growing. So right now you can find me on Facebook at Temeka Thomas, and my name is spelled a little different. It's Temeka, and then you can find me on IG as I think it's Temeka Thomas, and then the number 2. I'm also on TikTok as Shanoah T, and Shanoah is SHINOAH. There's also an email that you can leave messages for me. Right now, girl, you can even DM me. I may not get right back to you, but I'm definitely going to get back to you. I make time to do that. But you can email me at outpouringsisterhood@gmail.com. And someone is definitely going to get back with you with an appointment if we want to schedule, getting together and talking about you joining what we have going on, or if you just want to have me speak at an engagement, because I love speaking at summits, I love speaking at conferences, I do things at schools. I'm a very diverse speaker, so yeah.
Okay, there y'all have it. Y'all have all the information. What you be doing on TikTok?
Oh,
you be doing little dances and stuff?
No. Every now and then I put on for TikTok. Every now and then I put on for them.
TikTok, you gotta do all the dances.
Because you can't show up serious all the time, so I put on for them every now and then. But I ain't doing no twerking.
She's not twerking on TikTok, so don't go follow for that. But thank you, man. Thank you for your time, your story, your energy, your presence. Y'all make sure y'all go and y'all support. And as always, if y'all have not, y'all go ahead and download the Big Dot Radio Show app and continue to follow the platform and keep helping us grow and to bring more and more guests.
And y'all go get my book, The Iridescent Truth. It's on Amazon. It's on all distributions.
Мы возьмем котлеты наличных себе на завтра. Сегодня, завтра, неважно как я.